It's Transformers Legacy Transmetals II Megatron Beast Dragon version. We're going to take a look at him and find out, is he great or is he just late? That's the best I could do with that. Welcome to Retrobot, the YouTube channel where we feed a friendly space robot a diet of pure nostalgia. Today we are taking a look at Transmetals II Megatron from Transformers Legacy. This is Beast Megatron in his dragon mode, and here is the box. It looks really good. It's got some fantastic artwork on it. One thing I do like about these bigger boxes is that you get a lot of really cool artwork, and we can see a zoomed in version of his face over here, and we can see some dragon head over here, and you see the Legacy Decepticon artwork on this side, and then we see product shots over here, and some mumbo jumbo down there, and of course you have to have the QR code so that you can see like a computer animated figure breathe. It'll breathe. It'll definitely breathe. So there is the package, and here is the figure in his robot mode. And let's take a look. If we can get the camera to focus in on him. Come on, camera, work with us here. So there he is in his robot mode. And right away, the robot mode is really dynamic looking. He's got great proportions. He's got a lot of detail. He's very, very red. He's got a lot of red. He is kind of a little bit more of a purpley red than just a straight cherry red. I think that it works for him. There's some airbrush detail on here and then some gold accents. Hopefully this is not the kind of plastic that suffers from gold plastic syndrome. I want to say that they've gotten past that. I'd like to hope, but I guess we'll find out in 20 years. He also comes with fire or maybe like a lava club or something. I mean, really what this is for is so that you can put it in the mouth here and have him be like, and you know, just it'll breathe fire. So let's go over the articulation before we get too much into the weeds with this toy. We've got a head that says, no, no, no. And I guess it can sort of go, yes, although it's not really the head moving, it's the stuff that it's attached to. We've got really good shoulder articulation. His arms go out and they go forward, and there's a clicker in there too. Oh, come on, stand up for me. Stand up for me. There we go. There's a clicker in there too, which is very nice. We've got bicep rotation. We've got a double jointed elbow, so really, really good articulation on the elbow here. And then we've got a wrist with not really a whole lot going on. It kind of has a tilt due to the transformation right there. Now, going over to the other arm, since they are not the same, we have a multi-jointed dragon neck with lots of segments. This thing moves beautifully. This is just an excellent, excellent piece. Fantastic detail, and it's something that I feel like they didn't have to do all this. They probably could have phoned it in and given us just, you know, fused joints here and fused joints here and maybe a little bit of movement on the head, but they didn't. They gave us individual links. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, well, 4 links plus a traditional shoulder joint, and then we have this shoulder that rotates out and it goes up and it goes down. So there's a lot of articulation on the arm here, and that's really, really nice to see. That is something that that just makes this toy right out of the box super, super playable. I really like it. It's definitely play worthy. It's a lot of fun, and you know, he can even be like, you know, I want to put fire on my head, and and do that, because that's important. So moving down, we do have waist articulation, and it's got clickers. And then we've got hips that, as I mess with them, the hips are coming apart a little bit. It's really not as bad as it kind of looks like when I'm awkwardly handling him from the side and trying to keep everything within view on the camera. But he's got clickers in his leg joints, which is very, very nice. He's got just a side joint, no clickers here, but it is a nice side joint, so he can do the splits, and he can still do the Ministry of Silly Walks, which is important. So that's very, very good. And then you have thicep rotation right there, and a very, very good knee joint. Look at that. That is well past 90 degrees. You also have this ankle that, this shin joint, which is really just for the transform, but it certainly gives you the ability to kind of tip his toe all the way forward, like right up against his knee, if you want to do that for some reason. So that's there. And then of course we've got an ankle joint where the foot can tip forward and back. It can also tilt side to side. So he is very, very, very well articulated in robot mode. We've also got these wings, which I believe that in robot mode, ideally they're supposed to be collapsed down like this, but the nice thing is, of course, you can spread them out, and we can do the whole big spread out dragon wing thing in robot mode, which I feel like that's important. You know, when you got a character that is carrying wings on their back, whether it's for the beast mode or for the robot mode, it's nice to be able to spread them out in both. So there you go, and these wings look terrific. They are really, really well done. I like this airbrushed purple that they did on this one. I imagine that if they had done that on all of them, not only would it cost more, but also as the wings rub against each other, that paint would get rubbed off. So they just decided to skip it. I'm okay with that. I like the contrast between the purple and the orange. I think it looks really good. So here he is, and as you can see, he can get into all sorts of grisly poses and be like, oh, I am going to set you on fire. Yes, I'm going to quote the Bible, or at least stuff that sounds like it came from the Bible. Yes. And that would be what he would do, because, you know, he's Dragon Megatron. He got a little bit of a god complex. So there you go. Let's zoom in before we go to robot mode, and I'm going to go ahead and brighten things up just a little bit here so that you can see what's going on. He's got an excellent face sculpt, and I really want you to be able to see that and appreciate. Look at that. I mean, look at that noggin. He is gorgeous. There's red on the inside of the eyes that's wrapped in purple, and then kind of a brassy, bronzy face. And look at those teeth. Like, you know, I don't want to be his dentist, because he would be able to take my whole hand off with those teeth. And then they even painted in the vents around the sides of his face. I mean, and then you of course, you've got the clear acrylic over the head, which is, of course, the whole thing is a callback to the original toy, but it's a really, really nicely done callback. He looks awesome. And I'm kind of blown away, because I was kind of skeptical of this figure, to be honest. I didn't expect much from it. A lot of the photos really were unflattering, and getting him in hand is a whole different experience than seeing him in photos online. You can see also that there's some airbrushed purple with gold detail on the arms. Of course, they've got the translucent orange in the middle of the chest. with the claws that overlap the chest. I mean, he's ripped. He's got chest muscles. He's beefy. He's been working out with the rock. So, you know, and maybe melting the rock. I don't know. He's a dragon. He you know, he's got kind of a volcano theme. He could melt rock. So yeah, the feet also, let's go ahead and take a look at these because his feet are just awesome looking. I mean, they are big, they are sharp, they are well jointed, and again, they didn't skimp on doing airbrushing up here and then gold paint here and then painting the toes. I mean, that combined with the detail that's already built into this mold, really, really nice looking. Really, really fun. And then you look at the proportions of the figure itself where he's got nice long legs. Excellent body proportions. He looks like what he's supposed to be. He looks like he is a powerful, powerful Decepticon, and worthy of the name Megatron. Like, yeah, this is one where by the time that Dragon Megatron came into existence, they had very clearly established that this was not Gen 1 Megatron. This was a wholly different guy. Dare I say, a whole different animal. And he kind of comes into his own. Whereas Tyrannosaurus Megatron still had a lot of visual elements that related him to the Gen 1 character, this guy is just almost wholly and uniquely his own, carrying over the Tyrannosaurus Megatron attributes, but not really any of the Generation 1 Megatron attributes. Now you look at the back, there's some back kibble here. We've got the tail that drapes down over his back, which is also segmented in many places, and we'll talk more about that when I get it into dragon mode. And then we've got a lot of dragon chest here coming down off of his back. And it's a big chunky piece, but it also doesn't stick out a lot. It just kind of hangs down, and then especially when you have the wings collapsed and pivoted back, then that dragon belly in between there really doesn't even stand out much. It it kind of gets hidden with all the other backpack apparatus that is there, but most of which can be deployed in the robot mode to make him look super awesome. So that is the robot mode, but of course he is a transformer, and as thus he transforms. So let's get to it. Well, for starters, I'm going to take out the fire. I could leave the fire in there, but I just don't want the fire in there. So we'll take out the fire. We are going to open up the chest right here, and we are going to pull the head upwards, and I'm going to pivot the camera up so that you can see what's going on. There we go. There we go. All right, so getting his arm out of the way and his dragon neck out of the way. So we're pulling the head up. It's on a multi-jointed linkage here that goes up, and then back here you can see that it comes back like this, and it's just going to come all the way back here. So his head is now down by his butt. And then we're going to take this little piece right here. This little piggy goes to market and opens like that. We're going to take the dragon hands, which are wrapped around the front of the chest here, and we're going to pull them away from the chest, just like that. And then we can just pull these right out, and they're just going to pull out. They're on these little side panels. You see how those come out? So I'm going to do that again, and look at that. See, that just pops out like that. And then we've got these these panels right in here, which are just his, just the sides of his body, they're going to fold out this way and that way. There we go. And then we've got the arm, which is going to go up like this. And we're going to pivot that wrist in kind of an unnatural way. And then we're going to fold that like that. And we're going to take the whole thing and we're going to go up like this. And then we're going to click it this way. We're just going to click it this way. And you see here that there is a tab right here on the arm. It's going to tab in to this slot right here. So I'm going to do that. And that is just going to make everything kind of squidged together. So here, I'm going to try and get that in the shot so that you can see it. So there we go. Yeah, you can't see that. Let me zoom in here. There we go. Okay, so, and I'll brighten that up. So you can see here's that little tab, and there's the socket right there, and we're just going to get those to fit in right like that. You see how that goes? And then we're going to fold the wrist up and then cover it with this little gold piece right there. And now at this point, we can take the side flap here and close it up like that, and the side flap here. And amazingly enough, they kind of fit. And then we'll take the chest here and we will close it up against the rest of the body there. And then we've got these dragon arms, which you can put into pretty much any position that you want. And they're going to look like that. And there he is. That's him. He's done. He looks great. Okay, I guess that's Battleoid mode for turning him into a hybrid dragon guy. He's like, I'm a dragon guy. That we're not done. We're close, but we're not there yet. So here, let me continue. I'll stop messing around. It's hard not to mess around with him though, because I mean, look at him. He's fun. Come on, camera. Look at him. The camera doesn't like how far forward the neck is. So here, we'll just turn the neck sideways. There. Okay, so just to keep the camera happy, we'll get everything pretty much on the same plane. So now we're going to split his pelvis just like that. That can't be comfortable. I'm just saying that does not look comfortable. At this point, we might as well go ahead and pull the wings out. And get a nice good spread of wing action there. And then we'll do the same thing on the other side. And you see how they do kind of spread out on their own. And then you've got these things which they move. You know, I really don't know which way is better in which mode, but they move. So yeah, you can get the wings to spread out like that. And then we're going to, let's go ahead and look at the back here. So at this point, we're going to take this whole assembly here and we're going to wrap it around between the legs. And you see how, okay, I'm going to try and show this. This is going to come around like this. Wing in the way. There we go. All right. It's going to come around like this. And then there's tabs right here. There's a tab on this side of the piece at the base of the neck. And then there's another tab on here. Well, these tabs are going to interlock with these slots here and here. So this whole thing, once we get it into position, And also, there is a tab here in the rotating waist section that is going to get locked in by this slot right there. So let's go ahead and snap that into place so that this waist will stop rotating. And then we'll move that into position. And now we can take the legs and you can swing them up and we can lock them in around the head. So we're going to do that on this side. And I'm going to try and get that to go in. I know you can't see it. We're in there. Let me try and make it so that you can see what's going on. So we're going to get that to lock in like that. You see how these two parts just snap together like that? And then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. We're going to bring this up and we're just going to snap it together like that. There we go. And see, that's pretty good. So now this big long dragon belly piece can go up and it's just going to, there's a couple little tabs right here and right here, and those are going to go into a couple very subtle little tabs that are in the chest and lock all of that stuff together. So now we've got a full dragon belly and his dragon pelvis is now completely encapsulating the head. So that's good. Now we can take the legs forward and we can give them a bend at the knee, and this is where you're going to take advantage of those shin joints and put them into a more dragon-like stance and less of a humanoid robot stance. And then now let's put his dragon head into a nice dragon head position. And there he is. He is in his dragon mode. I'm going to pull out the Lazy Susan so that you can see him in all of his glory. And he does have a lot of glory here. I mean, this is a beautiful, beautiful toy. This dragon mode, I love it. And now I will say right away, there's this shoulder joint that's right up here, and then it gets a little skinny below the joint. So here, let's lift up. You know, before I gush about how much I love it, I will focus in on the part. I know that Don had seen reviews about this, and he really, really hates this. Yeah, he just hates this. And I feel like there's an upgrade kit coming that's going to help with this, like something that goes around here to just kind of fill in this space here. Because if this toy does have one major flaw, I feel like the biggest sin of this toy is right here in the neck area, where you can see that there's some hollowness, and yeah, you can see a little bit of the fist in there, and this gold piece doesn't quite cover everything. And then if you look at it from the back here with the wings back, then you can sort of see that this stuff doesn't really mesh together very well. It's just kind of piecemeal, and so, you know, I can absolutely, if somebody wants to complain about that and say, you know, that doesn't look good, then I can't argue. Okay, that doesn't look good, and this doesn't really work the way that it is here. But when I look at this toy and when I play with this toy, and the reason why I love this toy is when I look at him like this. I mean, he's got such dynamic proportions, and this dragon head is so posable and so playable. And then you have these beautifully articulated dragon arms which we have to go over the articulation of the beast mode as well. Normally I don't have to do that, but this guy has a lot of articulation, a lot of points that just make him dynamic and posable and just all around cool. So here, let me fix his leg here. Piece came apart. There we go. This so this piece, it keeps wanting to kind of pop out because the joint holding it to the neck piece in here is not nearly as strong as the resistance on this hinge. So when I try to move it, it would rather move here than here. It's a minor thing. I could easily correct that by just drawing a little bit of glue on the tab in there so that when I put these things together, it's really, really tight. But it's a pretty minor thing, and yours might not even do that. If you get this toy and you say, no, mine's fine, then cool, yours is fine. Mine just has that little bit of a flaw. So you have the tail here, and it's got all those joints. You've got the dragon wings, and he is able to, I mean, he does everything that you would want a dragon toy to be able to do. Plus, he has an amazing robot mode. But now we'll let him breathe fire. You know. Yeah, look at that. Look at that. I mean, come on, tell me that isn't cool. That is just cool. And you look at the poses that you can get this guy into, and I mean, he's just fun on so many levels. So let's go ahead and go through the articulation, because the articulation of the beast mode is one of the things that really makes this toy, to me, fantastic. So you've got the head, and just like I was showing you when it was in robot mode, we've got a pivot point here, we've got another section here, another segment here, another segment here, another segment here, and then another one down there. We've got twisting that can happen between each of the joints. There's just, it's very organic, and that in itself is fantastic. But also notice that it's able to hold the pose. You know, it's very flexible and playable, but it's also staying in the positions that I put him in. So when I want him to be breathing fire into the air and going, ah, then he can go, ah, and do that, and continue to do that for as long as I want him to do it. You get down here to the shoulder. His dragon arms have full rotation going this way, and also his arms go out just like this. He's got a bicep rotation for his little arm. He's got a fully posable elbow. I mean, look at the joint there. You know, it's just a single pivot joint, but because of the way that it's put together, it actually has a lot of range of movement. Look at that. Look, it goes all the way out and all the way in. And then we've got a swivel here at the claw wrist. So he can swivel the claws all the way around. And then there's a little pivot right here. And I realized that a lot of this is here to enable it to do that thing where the claws grip the chest when it's in robot mode, but it makes these really, really playable. He can get his claws into all sorts of expressive positions, and it's super, super fun. So the dragon arms, I mean, they're little and they're skinny, just like T-Rex arms, but they're also really beautifully modeled. And here, let me zoom in so that you can see those. I mean, look at that. Look at the detailing on that. It's just a really, really nice arm, and I'm loving it. Not to sound like a McDonald's commercial, but I am loving it. And then, of course, we've already talked about the segments on the wings. We've got flapping action because they have a hinge here in the back. They've also got the individual sections which move and pivot, and then of course the unnecessary motion of this little piece right here. I mean, I don't know why it's there, but hey, more things to move around is better. And then we get to the legs, which I guess technically what you're supposed to do is just leave this like this so that he has sort of a super thick dragon thigh, but I just treat this like a regular knee joint, and I let him use it, but I leave this cocked back like this. I mean, it's your toy. Use it how you want. It maintains all of the points of articulation that the robot legs do because it doesn't really transform. I mean, you know, he just scrunches his knee up and then bends at the shin, and that's the articulation that you get. So that's that makes his legs really easily playable, but also pretty simple in terms of the transformation scheme. Moving into the back, and you can see once again that this one panel, it's this guy right here that doesn't want to stay in there, so I keep having to put it back in. Come on, go in. There we go. Okay, so we get to the tail, and once again, we have many segments. So we have a little bit of pivoting that happens here. We've got some pivoting that can happen here, and then we've got all of these links. Look at that. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 different segments that each twist and turn. They're all ball jointed to each other, and they hold their poses. And then you've got the spark extractor tail, which looks fantastic. And we've got some airbrushing here that really kind of brings everything together. You know, you've got these purple highlights here, and then they continue on to the wings, and then they're also repeated on the back of the neck. It gives his whole dragon mode a nice consistency. The only thing that I would say would improve it is if they had also continued that up on these pieces here. Small criticism, but if I'm being honest, if they really wanted this to look consistent, they would go with that airbrush all the way up. It's a minor detail, and he probably wasn't in dragon mode when they did it. I don't know how they do the airbrushing on toys like this. Do they do it after it's assembled? Do they do it just to the pieces when they're lying in a pile? I don't know. So I should know, but I don't know. So that is the dragon mode, and it really is, as far as I'm concerned, yeah, there's some hollowness and some weirdness that happens here around the neck, but the overall effect of the toy is just so impressively playable and so neat looking. It's hard for me to, this just kind of blends in with everything else because there's a lot going on, and overall, to me, he looks great. Now, normally I don't do this in a short circuits review, but let's go ahead and put him side by side with the actual Transmetal II Dragon Megatron. And you can see that this toy, I've actually heard a lot of people kind of talk bad about this toy, saying that it, bad design, and I've always loved this toy. The whole dragon thing I think is awesome. You've got the opening mouth, and you've got the rubber segmented neck, which gives him a lot of room for motion, but it also doesn't hold a pose. Now, what you do get is you get this little gimmick here where you can actually make it look around, and you can kind of get it to do stuff, but it's it's a cool feature. Okay, let's not lie. Being able to do that is really cool, and you can even let's see, you can even get it, like, slide it back to get him to arch his head up, and there's a little tab here that you can lock it into place. I think that's so that when it's in its vehicle mode, notice the air quotes there, that his head won't just be dragging on the ground. But still, it's a neat play feature, and I like it. You've got the wings, which have this ability to spread themselves out with a little switch on the back, and then you can lock it into place, which is all really cool. And we've got translucent plastic, which is always cool, and airbrushing. So this is a neat toy. It does supposedly have a vehicle mode, but we're not even going to talk about that because it doesn't count. It's a cool dragon that that also has wheels around the legs. The place where this toy really doesn't work is when you get to the tail. And you see that I have actually modified this one. I have reversed the position of the tail so that in dragon mode it is facing up the right way. When I got it, it was actually flipped around so that these bits were facing on the underside, which makes it look better in robot mode, but I feel like, you know, I'm willing to sacrifice how it looks in his robot mode to make it look better in the dragon mode. And then you have an awful lot of visible head syndrome down here, and I think that in the car mode, you like do like something. Oh yeah, I think that technically it's supposed to be transformed like this. And you have a lot of visible head syndrome here, and then the tail would be oriented correctly. That, let's face it, that's kind of butts. So on mine, what I did was I flipped this rubber part, and then when I transform him, I leave the head pivoted around like this and down like that. That way the tail is coming more out of the body than just kind of being up here. But it does lead to some stuff. Oh, good. My phone is going off. That's great. Here, I'm gonna give you the phone, and you can do something with that. So there we go. That is, so even the original Dragon Megatron does have his fair share of sins, but honestly, you know, I pulled this toy out, and I do love this toy. I love this toy. I have several versions of it, but you can see like the wing now has a break here at the hinge that I need to fix. You know, his metallic paint is starting to fleck, and then you look at the robot mode, and I mean, he's cool, but he's a little bit awkward and hard to get into cool poses, and you know, I mean, it's an amazing toy, but when I compare it to this, and especially with all of the points of articulation, the ability for it to get into cool dragon flying poses, and you know, get the tail to come out this way, and have the wings up, and have him breathing fire. I mean, all of this stuff, I love this toy. I opened him up and I was blown away. And I'm not blind. I see the thing that Don was complaining about. It's there. I'm not ignoring it. I just don't care that much, because the effect of the toy as a whole is so much greater than the unfortunate kind of clumsy assembly that happens right around here. And I don't know what I would have done differently. I mean, you know, it's easy to say, oh, well, they shouldn't have done that. Sure, yes, they shouldn't have done that. Could they have maybe not given him this big beefy shoulder joint here? Maybe instead made it more like the rest of the links here? Sure. But in robot mode, that would have meant that he loses his dynamic, large robotic shoulder, and you just have a dragon neck pretty much growing out of the side of his body. So, would it be better without? I think that is something where somebody might say yes, somebody might say no, but a case could be made either way. You have this little piece here that doesn't quite cover the fist, but it also is exactly the size that it needs to be in order to fit inside there when it's in the robot mode. So again, you know, what would they do differently? Honestly, it's not up for me to decide. It's up for DNA. Yeah, they're going to make an upgrade kit. And we will probably buy the upgrade kit. And then I'll make a video about the upgrade kit. But anyway, the bottom line is that if you are at all a fan of Dragon Megatron, if you grew up with Beast Wars, if you remember this character, and especially if your original Dragon Megatron is showing its age and the pieces are starting to get delicate, then dude and dudettes, you want this. You want it. You just want it. And it's going to cost a bunch of money, and you're going to pay for it, and you're not even going to regret it because he is this cool. So yeah, that's my review. It's called a short circuits, but not that short when you have this to talk about, because there's a lot to talk about with this, and I guess at this point you know what I think. So yeah, buy him, and then if you disagree, you get him, and you're like, Clay, you lied to me. I don't like this guy. I'm suspect that you're just trying to start stuff. No, I sincerely hope that anybody that buys this loves it as much as I do, because I do. So, yeah, that's it. That's my review. If you like this review, please give it a thumbs up. Consider subscribing to the channel and clicking the notification bell when you do, so that you will see when we're doing short circuits videos like this one, as well as our live streams, which typically happen every Friday night at 8 o'clock Eastern United States time. Also, if you are in a position to help the channel grow, consider joining our Patreon. We have different tiers with different rewards, as our way of saying thank you. Thank you so much to our patrons. We so appreciate all the help that we can get. But don't take my word for it. Take the word of the Chaos Bringer himself. Unicron, come on out and thank our patrons.
Thank you, patrons, our ultimate retro heroes. Thank you, Fetch Beer, Robus, Matt White, Starhound, Setsune Wave, Dawn. I kind of stuttered on Dawn, but you know, Dawn, I'm watching you. I'm watching you. Hope and Michael D. and Colleen. Thank you.
He didn't want to turn off his voice effect. We got it though. So, all right. That's it. That is my review. Dragon Megatron from Transformers Legacy. Wait, here, I'm trying to get the head in view. you know you want him. Just go ahead and do it. So yeah, this is Clay telling you to keep it Retrobot. Yeah. Guess I should have silenced my phone if I was going to be recording videos. Oh well, it's robot noises. I could blame it on Retrobot having a bad dream. Yeah, that wasn't my phone. That was Retrobot having a bad dream. He was just making weird robot noises. Nobody's believing.